I want to hit for a moment the Georgian prime minister, born in France, who said, I'm never going to leave, never going to leave, that the Russians are doing everything they could to interfere with our elections. And then they asked her, hey, what evidence do you have that the Russians interfere with your elections? And she says, well, I can't necessarily prove it, but I'm very confident about it. You just feel it. This is her giving her exit speech as the new president is sworn in. The Georgian, French-born, many called a spy, working on behalf of the European Union against the interests of the country to which she was supposed to serve, can sit in her walking papers. Get the F out. Leave. Leave. Go. Go. Just go. Just go. She's on her way out. MSNBC. MSNBC. And I may hit this a little bit later, but goddamn MSNBC. So their level has reached peak desperation. Peak desperation. And I want to show a clip from them that is so infuriating. I nearly bit my tongue and fell out the chair at the same time watching the clip. As you remember, people like me have been pointing out that the issue is class and that we should focus on issues of class because your tent is widened when you're focusing on issues of class because there are going to be more workers by definition. Now, Kamala Harris didn't believe that, and many of the Democratic Party backed her in not believing that. And of course, if you're going to get $1.5 billion, it is very hard to make a class argument while accepting $1.5 billion because after all, as I keep pointing out, who are you getting the money from? Meaning the people who you're getting that money from have health care, they have education, they have those things. So those are not necessarily things that they need per se, in which case they're not going to give you the money for those things. It's against their interests. And so if you're going to be a Democratic Party, how on earth are you going to run an argument about class when you're getting money from people who don't need that money on those class issues? I want to play this clip. This is Simone Sanders. And listen to what she says for the moment. I want to get your take after this.
Well, and that is why I made the point yesterday about people often talk about, this has literally been going on since Fred Hampton, but Reverend Jesse Jackson, Dr. King, right? Heck, Bernie Sanders talked about organizing across class as well, because the reality is when you align just along, if we're going to just specifically talk about white people for a second, okay? If we just talk about aligning just across race, we are seeing the divisions happening right now. The white billionaires, Elon Musk is not saying, yes, I'm fighting for the little guy. Yes, I'm out here, looking out for the forgotten white man. He is saying these folks are mediocre and let me get somebody else to do it, which is why folks, white, black, Latino, Native American, Asian American, and Pacific Islander and otherwise, we have to look at organizing across class, okay? Because the reality is what they said, as Michael said, what they said about black people all those years ago, and they still trying to say it about us, to be very clear. Mm-hmm. Now they're saying it out loud about people who are not black, about you, okay? First they came for us, now they're coming for you. You are not exempt, boo-boo. Let's come together.
Shut the F up. Shut the F up. Are you effing kidding me? Are you kidding me? When I and many people like me have been making that very specific argument, when God damn it, when Bernie Sanders ran, they did any and everything in their power, meaning the weight of the political party, of the Democratic Party, did any and everything in their power to crush that movement. Meaning the thing that she's talking about is the very thing that the Democratic Party worked and fought against. And now, after losing the election, it's puts you in the mind of somebody who loses their job and then calls to pay a bill. Hey, I know I just lost my job. And I know I didn't pay this bill, for several years. But now I'm trying to get this settled and I'm trying to, make amends and get this straight. That's what I'm trying to do. Now that I've lost my job, are you out your effing mind to make that argument now as opposed to making that argument then? Understand, Chris Matthews on air made the point of saying maybe we should lose this election to Donald Trump now because if Bernie Sanders wins, he is going to take the party for a generation. That is the argument that Democrat Chris Matthews was making on air. That is not an argument that Hillary Clinton would make. Kamala Harris even was giving the left an FU by running across the country with Liz effing Cheney, Darth Vader's daughter, who has all of the same predilections as her dad. Why do you think they did that? When Chuck Schumer made the point of saying for every lefty or progressive that we lose, we'd get another Midwest Republican. And you can replace that in state after state after state after state. How did that work for you, Chuck? How did that work for you, Chuck? It didn't work all that well considering you lost again. The reason that they're so interested in that is because of their funding mechanism. How do they make money? They go to the rich. They beg them for money. The rich don't care about your lefty priorities of healthcare, education, expansion of Social Security, increase in the minimum wage. They don't care about that. That is not what they care about. That is not their mindset. How do we make more money? How do we make more cash? That is the way they think. That is what they want. Maximization of profit. And so if you go for a Republican as opposed to a lefty, then your pressure, the pressure from your base, lessens. This notion of being tethered and dependent upon the left in your base lessens. Meaning they take this tact because for all intents and purposes, it makes it easier to get money without having the pressure of the left pushing for things in order to get the votes once they get the money. The idea that you make that argument and you got Republican Michael Steele sitting there shaking his head, agreeing to any and everything that's ever said on the MSNBC, that is astonishing and outrageous. I nearly fell out of my chair. MSNBC, you are losing ratings for damn good reason. Damn good reason. And for whatever the shtick that you're now putting on because you realize, hey, looks like we're losing people. We're losing blacks. We're losing Hispanics. Hell, 8 million people didn't show up to vote. What could we possibly be getting wrong? We already have a Republican Party. You being Republican Party light, nobody cares about. Nobody cares about. And for whatever differences, they've become so negligible that people just stay home. I mean, yeah, there are many reasons, many issues. Don't give me this nonsense that Kamala Harris ran a perfect campaign. But the issue is the brand. And for you to sit here and say that after people have been agitating and pushing and getting beat on for pushing that the Democratic Party change. And after losing the race to Donald Trump, you now have come to the assessment from now. Because in 4 years, it's not going to be that assessment. It's going to go back to normal. But you've come to the assessment, you know what? Maybe Sanders had a point. You go F yourself. You go F yourself. I want to bring in my guest.